If I'd known how badly I was going to get ripped tonight, it would have made it a lot worse than the speech is. It's actually really nice. So apparently there's no official best man, but I'm the one that's had to write the speech, so I'm claiming it. Now my wife told me that I had to compliment both the brides and the bridesmaids. So I'll start with Charlotte, the beautiful bride herself. One thing I'll say about Charlotte is she has a very good sense of humour, and she's proved it today by marrying Jake. Usually all the ladies look amazing, especially my new sister-in-law. Now Jacob and I have been brothers for as long as he can remember. I guess it all started on the day he was born, as Dad said, weighing in at like a massive 10 pounds 14 or something or other. One of my first memories of Jake is Mum and Dad having to buy a bigger pram. So I was 4 at the time, and I distinctly remember Dad coming home from the shops with a big package in the back of the ute, and all of us excitedly unwrapping this package, until standing there in the middle of the lounge room in all its glory was Jake's new set of wheels. A bright blue Sherlock wheelbarrow. And nothing has really changed since that day. Literally nothing. Jake hasn't grown at all. In fact, I actually think he's slimmed down a bit. And for the next 12 or 13 years of his life, he got around in exactly the same outfit he was born with, which may account for his permanent and incredibly even tan. So seriously, absolutely nothing. Except usually a pair of shoes of some description. Now it was either a pair of red gumboots, or for really special occasions, like shearing, or if we had guests, it was a pair of elastic-sided Rossi boots. One of the many memories I have of Jake's early years was at the Meckering farm. Now we got Dad to weld us up a sled. It was kind of like the little plastic snow sleds that normal kids have on the snow. This one was a bent piece of sheet metal with K-rail welded on the sides and a tow hook welded to the front so it could be tied to the length of the rope to the back of the four-wheeler and towed over the ground. Now this thing, it was gnarly. It had all the elements needed for a serious injury. Sharp edges, unstable, towed at speed, no control. So naturally, I was fairly hesitant to be the one to ride in it. Now Lockie was up the farm with us at the time, and he didn't want to borrow it either. So anyway, we're down the sheds. We just built this thing, and Jake comes strutting down to the sheds wearing his red gumboots, nothing else. I think he was about 6 at the time, and we needed a test dummy. So we convinced Jake, which didn't take a lot of convincing, that it'd be huge amounts of fun to hop on this thing and get towed around the farm at high speeds. Now Jake wasn't, and still isn't, known for thinking through various outcomes before committing himself. Stand him in good stead for married life. Speaking from experience. So he jumped at the opportunity to be the first one on the new sled. But I was fairly safety conscious even back then, so I insisted that he go and put on some protective apparel. So anyway, Jake runs back up the house, and about 5 minutes later trots back down to the sheds, wearing a full face motorbike helmet, a pair of Mum's sunglasses, some gloves, his red gumboots, and nothing else. So anyway, Locke and I jump on the motorbike, Jake hops in the sled, and we take off. Now Jake has absolutely no control over this sled, so being the responsible older brother that I am, I made sure we kept the speed under 80 k's an hour. However, towing Jake around the sheds at speed soon got boring, so we decided to step it up a notch. We headed up to one of the paddocks that had irrigation ditches bulldozed into it. Now these ditches are about a metre high, and they make pretty good jumps. So we've lined one up, put Jake out on the whip at about 60 k's an hour, and sent him straight into the jump. Now because he's out on the whip, he's hit the jump sideways, the edge of the metal sled's dug in, and both Jake and the sled have somersaulted through the air, hit the gravel, and slid to a halt. Now remember that all Jake is wearing is boots, helmet and gloves, so you can imagine the minor gravel rash he sustained. Now where most 6-year-olds would go screaming to Mum, Jake jumped back on the sled and gave us strict instructions to send him into the jump at a better angle next time. Now, this story is fairly indicative of Jake's childhood. He was always the guinea pig, as Dad said, for any harebrained scheme that we came up with. And it wasn't as though we had to coerce Jacob into being the first one to try it. He absolutely relished the prospect, and he's still very much the same now. There's been a number of times recently that I've been told off by Charlotte for talking Jake into doing something stupid, which usually doesn't require a whole lot of convincing. Now, Jake is also well known for being quite injury prone, which is one of the reasons it took him 7 years to complete a 3-year apprenticeship. That and the numerous overseas holidays. But his injury proneness isn't because he's clumsy or uncoordinated, it's because he gives 100%. Once he's got it into his head that he can do something, he won't stop until he's mastered it, whether it's an 80-foot backflip on snow skis, front flips on the wakeboard, or any number of sports that Jake plays. And I think this determination and single-mindedness stems from his constant striving to be as good as his older brother. Now, we all know that younger brothers want to be the same as their big brother when they grow up, but Jake's taken it further than most. A few examples. I went to school, Jake went to school. I started playing footy, Jake started playing footy. I mastered surfing, Jake tries to surf. I did a carpentry apprenticeship, Jake slowly did a carpentry apprenticeship. But it gets even more extreme than that. I bought a house in Maynard Vale, Jake buys a house 2 minutes down the road in High Wycombe. Now, don't be fooled by the name High Wycombe. Please note that we go down to High Wycombe in every sense of the word. I married a girl from Sydney, and guess what? Jake goes and marries a girl from Sydney. And he's going to Fiji on his honeymoon, which is alright. He even bought Charlotte's engagement ring from the exact same jeweller that I bought yours. Admittedly, the one Jake bought was heavily discounted. Now, there's a saying that goes along the lines of imitation is the highest form of flattery, and I tell you what, with Jake as a brother, I've been flattered my whole life. But there are a few things that Jake has surpassed the master at. I mentioned one before, snow skiing. Now, why anyone would actually bother with snow skiing is beyond me. However, Jake chose that over snowboarding and has shown quite the aptitude for it, even managing to break his back and damage his spleen on a ski trip with Ben Dodson to Colorado. Another thing that Jake has only very recently surpassed me at is golf. Now, I hate to say this, but Jake actually beat me over 9 holes for the first time just last week. Yeah, right. Our golfing competitive goes back many years to the first time we played golf together. It was up on the farm. The only clubs we had were a couple of old hockey sticks and some golf balls we found lying around the sheds. Now, neither of us really knew the rules of golf, so we came up with our own version, which consisted of me lining the golf balls up on the ground, counting to 3 while Jake would run, and trying to hit Jake with the golf ball. Usually I'd start hitting the golf balls at the count of 1. But I don't think Jake could count at this point in his life. He was only about 9, so it didn't so it didn't really faze him that much. Now, generally the golf balls would fly in all directions, never really going anywhere near their intended target, which is probably a good thing, until either Jake was out of range or I'd run out of golf balls. Then Jake would come back and we'd start the process over again. Always with me hitting the balls at Jake and Jake running. Now, on one occasion, when we were playing this brilliantly intricate game, Jake decided to run a short distance and hide behind a tree. Now, it was a good tree to hide behind. Had a nice thick trunk, fairly tall. Not that a short tree would have mattered to Jake. And it had a nice fork in it, just above head height. So every now and then he'd pop his head up to see how many balls I had left. Anyway, I had 1 ball left. So I waited for Jake to pop his head up, wound up for an almighty swing, and just as Jake's forehead appeared through the fork, I let fly with the greatest golf shot of my short career. The ball flew dead straight, smacked into the centre of Jake's forehead, and knocked him out cold. Now, as you can imagine, I was a little bit worried, not for Jake's well-being, but about the punishment I'd probably receive from Mum. So I waited until Jake had come to and managed to talk him into staying silent by offering him the chance to hit the next lot of golf balls at me while I ran. Now, obviously Jake got nowhere near me. I didn't get into trouble, and I've been beating Jake at golf ever since. It's been mentioned a few times tonight, but Jake was famous for his nudity, especially when he was younger. But there was one infamous incident in his teenage years that needs to be told. We have a camp over in Western Australia every Easter known as Pinjarra Bible School, which is held at a campsite with a number of adventure activities, including rock climbing and abseiling towers and a high ropes course with a massive rope swing at the end. Now, all of the adventure equipment was A, only to be used with a harness, and B, strictly out of bounds for the entire camp. So obviously, myself, Lockie, Jamin, and a few others decided to work out how we could in fact access this out of bounds equipment. We managed to unlock the rope swing section of the course, climbed a nearby tree to get to the swing platform, and had a bit of fun utilising this out of bounds equipment. Now, the rope platform was about 5 or 6 metres off the ground, so you could grab hold of the rope, jump as high as you could and swing at high speed until you reached the end of the pendulum at around 9 metres off the ground, and keep swinging until you stopped and slid down the rope. Now, remember, harnesses were supposed to be used, and this was fairly high, even for our standards. So we'd all had a couple of swings and we were having a great time, but after a while it got boring as usual. We decided to step it up a notch. Cue Jacob, not thinking through situations before committing. We managed to coerce Jacob into doing the rope swing in his favourite outfit. And you can probably all guess how little clothing that involved. Now, being the safety conscious fellow that he is, he insisted on wearing a bananas in pyjamas helmet that he acquired off a young kid earlier. Jake flew gracefully through the air, gripping the rope with his bare thighs, realising mid-swing that he'd left all items of clothing at the mercy of a number of highly compassionate teenage boys. So he thought it'd be a great joke to run off with said clothing, leaving Jake dangling from a 9-metre rope swing, wearing absolutely nothing but his prized bananas in pyjamas helmet. Now, the interesting thing about Jake is he'd always be wearing at least one item of clothing, whether it was shoes or a helmet or whatever. There was always a token item of PPE. But you see, the thing with PPE is you actually need to be wearing like all of it. So, but to Jake, there wasn't a problem. He was wearing a helmet, safety first as usual. And we're still unsure exactly what goes through his head. Again, he isn't known for thinking through various outcomes before committing himself. Now, as funny as all these stories are, and believe me, there are a lot of them, and as nice as it is to make fun of Jake when there's nothing he can do about it, he's been pretty much the best brother to grow up with that anyone could ask for. We've done numerous snow and surf trips together, drove across to Sydney in a combi van, gotten up to all sorts of mischief on the various farms we grew up on, injured each other on numerous occasions, and it's been awesome having Jake, having a younger brother who is also my best mate, after Lockie. Now we're both married, and we can only hope that our wives allow us to have plenty more adventures together. Just kidding, I know we'll have plenty more adventures, which will have to bring the wives along. Now, you're pretty lucky that Charlotte has agreed to put up with you for the rest of her life, and Laws and I are pretty excited that you guys will be living just down the road from us so we can drop in for dinner whenever we feel like it. Massive congratulations to both of you, and may God bless you both as you start married life together.